Vampires, blood-sucking, brooding creatures of the night, who in their life has not at one point thought to themselves, it would be awesome to be a vampire. Well, 2004's Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines was a lot of people's first introduction into what it could be like. Hello and welcome back. Today I am going to be giving my review on Troika Games' Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines, an indirect sequel to Vampire the Masquerade Redemption. Now, before I begin, there will be spoilers within this review, so this is your warning. If you do not want to be spoiled, then either go play the game or watch someone play it. You can find my half a playthrough right here. I'll explain why only half as we go through this video. So, to begin with, I cannot talk about this game without first mentioning the development hell that it went through. Vampire Bloodlines started its development in November 2001. The team at Troika Games did not know whether they wanted to build a new engine for the game or whether they wanted to license out an existing one. At the time, Valve was in the process of building the source engine, and so Troika Games ended up being the first external team to use it. The production of this game did not go well, as the scope of the design exceeded the available resources, and for nearly a whole year the team did not have a producer. At this point, Activision stepped in and appointed someone to the role. This producer came in and found whole designs and levels unfinished, or at worst, completely left and abandoned. This went on for 3 years with no possible end to it all and running over budget. At this point, Activision once again stepped in to put a stop to this mess and gave them a strict deadline for completion, being November 2004. This, although probably being the best thing for Activision to do so as not to hemorrhage even more money, is what caused the many issues with the game, which I will be talking about today. Although the game was praised for its writing and scale of choice, its overall failed due to its technical flaws and being forced to release unfinished. Today, this game has a massive cult following due to no one being able to replicate this style of storytelling and gameplay. The fan service is so big that the game has ongoing fan patches and fixes to finish and polish the game up, adding unused or unfinished quests and places all the way to making the game look half decent and actually playable. If you look online, everyone everywhere will tell you to play using the unofficial patch, even if it's just to make it bearable on the eyes. This is great, and the fans who make this happen should get a hell of a lot of credit. But I'm afraid that is where my praise for this game ends. Now, I'm not one who likes to sit there and tell people why they should or should not like something, or that their opinion is wrong. But there's a first time for everything, because this game unfortunately is shockingly bad, and the cult following that sit around praising it and licking its bumhole till the cows come home should not be doing this at all. There is a reason that no one has done a game in this exact same fashion before, and that's because it's piss poor. Strap in, ladies and gentlemen, as this is not going to be pretty. So this game centres around you, a fledgling vampire who's just been converted and have been employed by the vampire prince LaCroix. To save a little bit of time trying to explain everything, let me shorten this down for you. There are several different vampire clans. Each of these clans specialise in something, although I think, to be honest, there isn't a great difference between them except how they look and talk. I don't know completely on that one, as I was definitely not willing to give this game another playthrough. The main factions though are the Camarilla, the Quajin, the Sabbat and the Anarchs. Now, to put it simply, the Camarilla are the old school vampires who have run things since the early Renaissance. The Quajin are your vampires from the east. The Sabbat are the crazy vampires who are just generic bad guys. And the Anarchs seem to be the guys who are kind of caught in the middle of things and seem to be the best of the bunch. But they're still vampires, so how good can you be? So the main crux of the story is this sarcophagus that is found, called the Anarchin sarcophagus, which is said to hold the body of an antediluvian, which is a vampire of the 3rd generation who have immense power, and that the arrival of this vampire would signal the apocalypse known as Gehenna. Skip loads of back and forth and you effectively get to choose a side, either join the Camarilla, the Quajin, the Anarchs, another person who I didn't ever speak to, or just on your own. Depending on what you choose depends on your ending. Yes, this game has multiple endings. Me personally, I chose to side with the Anarchs and kill both the Quajin and the Camarilla. It was not very satisfying, and after doing some research on the other endings available, I do not feel any of them are very satisfying, except maybe one, in which you go off by yourself, kill everyone except the Anarchs, and then when they try and talk to you, you flip them the bird. There are side missions, but I did not do any of them because I found myself hating this game so much I could not bring myself to put any more time into it. To be fair, the story behind it all is quite interesting, and there's a lot more to it and a lot more characters to it than I've mentioned. Now let me tell you why this is let down. The gameplay. The goddamn gameplay. Where do I start? It tried. Sort of. The first thing I shall talk about is the world. It tries to be immersive. There are people walking around. That's about it. Loads of buildings you cannot go in, and the buildings you can are not particularly exciting. The people who walk around have varying looks about them, but other than the homeless or the hookers, everyone walks around with the same stupid bloody walk as everyone else. There are a couple of times throughout the whole game in which I saw a couple of people fighting, but other than that, it felt so empty due to the fact that all these people were not doing anything except walking around like bloody idiots. This game tried to give the impression of an open world, and some might try to argue that it is. I argue that it is not. It is a few separate areas with very little to do in them. Now yes, I know there are side missions that can be done, but at the end of the day, it is a linear game in a world that is just sort of large and quite confusing. An open world game to me is a game in which I can sit down and go do anything I want. This game you cannot. You can do the main story, or you can do side missions. You cannot go and kill loads of people randomly, because you will either get swarmed by cops and die, or break the Masquerade and also die. Therefore, this is not an open world and should not try to be. Now, I just mentioned something called the Masquerade. This is a game mechanic in which you cannot show humans that you are a vampire, so using your powers or eating a person in plain view breaks the Masquerade. Do this 5 times and you die. A cutscene plays and you get your head chopped off. This mechanic could have been so good, but unfortunately it's The problem you have is when you're walking around the world, you can be attacked by vampire hunters. This means you must either run or fight. Your first instinct is to fight, but use any powers, and there is a high chance you break the Masquerade. You see the problem here? And then if you start fighting back normally, you become a criminal and the cops come after you. Like what the hell? Especially since they won't ever attack the hunters. So when you begin the game, you have your tutorial. Not a problem. That is what you expect. But there was so much goddamn text that I had to read that I just didn't want to. Right off the bat, the game put me off because it shoved it all at me at once and expected me to read everything there and then. This is not a good idea. I should be taught things as I go along for the first couple of hours and shown or spoken to. And if I have to read, make it minimal. Do not make it a full page. Some of the characters in this had some charm to them, and a few of them actually had some good voice acting. Others just pissed me off, and their storylines I really couldn't give a shit about. The initial movement animation is the fastest you can go. If you hold shift to run, you walk. Which means your normal movement is slow as shit because it's like a goddamn jog. And before you fanboys get on keyboard warrior on me, yes, I know about the movement speed power, but that should be a power. If a human can sprint without powers, then so should a goddamn vampire. Also, on the movement, the sneaking is shocking and should just not be a thing. Plus you look like a cartoon character when they try and sneak around. It's bloody stupid. Now, I realise I'm complaining a lot, but I promise that is about to change. Okay, I lie, because screw that. The combat in this game is goddamn hot. The gun control sucks so much it's untrue, and the hand-to-hand or melee combat is not much better. The game says use different directional buttons to do different combos so you can catch enemies off guard. But no, it still sucks. The combos are so lackluster and it feels like there is no weight behind them. Plus, half the time you just straight up miss, leaving you open for getting kicked right up your vampire ass. The blood magic sucks. I ended up using pretty much the same tactic through most of the game. Use trance, which puts an enemy into a hypnotic state, and then eat them. If that didn't work, I would just shoot blood shots at them. The only other spell that was any good, which I did not unlock till later in the game, was called Suicide. And yes, it's as on the nose as it sounds. You make someone kill themselves. Now there are different clans. I chose the clan that specialises in blood magic. From what I can tell, didn't make much of a difference. Other than a couple of skills, every clan, I believe, gets all the same spells. The difference just lies in how they look and how their stats pan out. So for example, because I was a magic type dude, I could not put more than 4 points in any physical stat. There's only 5 points per stat, so I don't think it made much of a difference. So the final point I shall raise about the gameplay is the dungeons, for lack of a better word. They go on for far too long. They just keep going and throw so many enemies at you. Normally, I would not find this much of a problem, but because the combat is so goddamn it just became so monotonous, especially when I'm in a room, I kill an enemy, and then I literally see an enemy spawn in that exact spot again, and again, and again. There were literal infinite enemy spots in this game. Like, what the hell? Unless the enemy is a condition of a mission, killing enemies does not reward experience, so it's just wasting my goddamn time. For my final episode in this game, I recorded about 9.5 hours of footage of me trying to get through the main storyline. And because I felt the gameplay was so repetitive and uninteresting, that I managed to condense that down into an 8-minute video, which to me says a lot. So to sum up the gameplay, it's janky, uninteresting, movement sucks, the dungeons go on too long, and the combat and magic can suck a dick because they are so dull and boring. Some characters are good, and some voice actors do a really good job, but other than that, no. Just goddamn no. So, the graphics. On the basis that to play this game without it looking like the inside of a horse's mouth, you have to download the unofficial patch, this says a lot. So that being said, with that patch, it looks okay. And that's about it. It looks okay at best. Now, throughout the game, there were some bugs and glitches. Now, whether these are because of the patch, or that the patch actually stops a lot more bugs and glitches from appearing, I don't know, but they were annoying. Luckily, none of them were game breaking, but they were odd. It was just minor things though, such as getting stuck in place, or not being able to move over certain bits of ground. Or the weirdest one was when I was swimming, and rather than swimming in a forward motion, I would move forward slowly, but I would be straight up, as if treading water. It was very odd. Now the character designs on the other hand, I thought were pretty good. The main characters had their own distinctive look about them, and that really stood out, which really added to their individual personalities. The generic enemies, although reused a lot, still had a decent variety, especially when you head to the sewers and see this brutal looking spider human thing. The music, on the other hand, I was disappointed by. The game had an original song written for it, which was great, but my biggest problem from here is that most of the other music in the game are licensed songs. The few songs actually composed for the game, other than the official song, were few and far between and repeated quite a lot. Or there's no music at all. This, to me, felt lazy. My main assumption for this is due to the issue in development, and if so, then I understand the reasoning behind it, but it does not excuse the point I'm raising. To all those who will sit there and say to me, this game is the way it is because it came out in 2004, I say to you, Halo 2, GTA San Andreas, Half-Life 2, Far Cry, Fable and Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater. By the time I forced my way through this game and got to the end, I started to develop an understanding of why people love this game so much. This game had so much goddamn potential, and it's a crying shame that it came out the way it did. The story behind it was a good story, but the gameplay really let it down, and because of it I found myself completely uninterested in the tale it was trying to tell. I am sure you have worked out by now, I did not like this game, and I feel like this cult community that is following it should not exist. As I said at the beginning, I'm not one to tell people what they should or should not like, and that someone's opinion is wrong. But this game is bad, and to anyone who loves it, I'm sorry, but it sucks. To the fans who have done the unofficial patch, you guys are brilliant. Yes, I hate this game, but the time and effort you have obviously put into the game to finish it off because you see the potential it had is to be absolutely praised. And you are actually the greatest thing about this game. So from one tiny YouTuber whose word probably doesn't mean much to many people, I take my hat off to you. I wanted to love this game. I really did. I love action RPG games. I think vampires are awesome, and a game that combines all of it is a fantastic idea. Or at least it should be. In my eyes, there is a reason that a sequel for this game never got announced till recently, and the biggest tell for me is that fans have to finish the game. So that is all the time we have for you today, everybody. Today was a bit of a long one. To anyone I have pissed off today, I apologise, but tough. This game sucks, and the proof is in the pudding, people. Thank you for joining me, everybody. If you have enjoyed today's episode, please do not forget to hit that subscribe button and ring that notification bell to keep up to date with all my latest uploads. Drop a like, and please, please, please let me know what you think down in the comments. Did you love this game? If you did, please tell me why, because I would love to know the other side of the coin. With that, take it easy, everybody.